Bienvenidos a todos a un nuevo video. En este video vamos a desarrollar herramientas con GoHighLevel y N8N. Vamos a pasar por todo el proceso de crear esas herramientas, desde cómo mapearlas correctamente, cómo conectar los variables y también cómo conectarlos a nuestros agentes de texto en concreto. Este video va a ser en inglés porque estoy aquí con mis amigos, en concreto Anden, Trajan in the back.
Hello.
Básicamente lo que voy a hacer con este video es poner subtítulos en español para que ustedes puedan entender todo lo que estamos diciendo, o a su vez probablemente añada alguna voz en español para que ustedes lo entiendan. Sin más añadir, empezamos. Let's get it ended. So,
Let's go.
first step, things that we need to do uh, and know before we start doing the tool is that we have to know which tool we're going to create, what's going to be the purpose of the tool, what's going to be the name, and also we have to take a look at the API documentation from GoHighLevel and start mapping pretty much everything. In this case, we're going to do two tools that we have. Two tools. The first one is going to be a basic schedule appointment, connecting that tool to the AI text agent and mapping everything correctly from the API documentation that GoHighLevel provide us. And the other one is going to be get availability. So get availability is going to be one interesting tool because we actually have a specific workflow here inside our N8N workflow that does the entire tool process and tool purpose. But what we're going to do actually is create the tool, and inside that tool, we're going to just add the body with the requirement body parameters, so we can use these parameters inside the get availability tool that we created here apart from that. So in this case, we're going to do like a cool webhook connection, production URL connection to the tool that is attached to the AI agent. And this is going to be another cool thing to know because this can open a lot of possibilities that will be helpful and cool for future workflows that we create, and you can also create by understanding these fundamentals on how to create tools with GoHighLevel and N8N. All right, so let's get started. Anything that I'm missing, Andon?
No, it's pretty straightforward so far.
Cool. All right, so let's open the API GoHighLevel documentation. I'm gonna close this tab, but actually I'm gonna open it again because I don't have my camera on my OBS. There you go. So first step, whenever you're creating tools with other, for example, whenever you're creating tools from one specific software to connect that to another, it can be like this automation software that we're using in this particular case, N8N. You have to take a look at the API documentation from that specific software, so you will be able to create the tools in the correct manner. So in this case, like I said, we're going to create the first tool. The first tool is going to be the schedule appointment tool. So for this specifically, we have to go to, if I'm not wrong, Andon is going to be appointments. No, it's going to be calendars.
Get free slots.
No, that's get availability.
We're creating an appointment.
Yes.
So we're doing. So it'd be.
There you go.
Yes, sir.
Get an appointment. So we're gonna go straight into calendar events, and then you're gonna find out that we have this get appointment documentation from GoHighLevel. And one thing to notice, and what a couple of things to notice, is that this specific API documentation to schedule appointments, to get appointments, is
That
used.
one's
That this is not the right one, right?
that's the reschedule appointment. What you would do,
Okay.
or sorry, just by ID right under the create appointment. It's like 2 under.
Post. Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
there you go. Okay, cool. So I was in the wrong one. So you have to take a look at the documentation, analyze what you're doing. Specifically, you can just copy the entire documentation and give it to Claude. You can give it everything to Claude and just tell Claude, okay, this is what we need, and Claude is probably gonna guide you through the right direction. In this case, we're gonna do this. We're gonna follow this API documentation to create appointments. So one thing to notice is that the method that is using is gonna be post, and this post method has this URL. You have to copy and paste inside your HTTP request that you're gonna create inside GoHighLevel, inside N8N. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create a new HTTP request. First, you need to name the HTTP request. In this case, it's gonna be schedule appointment. Don't do this with uppercase letters. Schedule appointment. There you go. Schedule appointment. Then we have to analyze what's the method that is using. The method that is using in this case is going to be post. So you have to map the exact method here. So it's going to be post. And you have to paste the URL provided here. Cool. Now we have to take a look at the entire API documentation for this specific tool that we're going to create. And what I do at the beginning is I usually just go straight into looking at the requirements that are needed for that HTTP request to create that tool. And we can take a look at the headers at the beginning. At the beginning, we have the headers, and the headers are the things that are on top of the HTTP request. They are the head, and you can see that the authorization token from GoHighLevel and the version is going to be required in order to make that HTTP request tool work. So what we have to do is we're going to go back to our HTTP request. We're going to activate the send headers, and we're going to start mapping. You can also do it the fast way. The fast way will be copying the curl and just taking a look at the things that are needed in your specific case, and the things that are not needed, you just delete. You just delete the nonsense stuff that is in there that you're not gonna need, and you will have your tool in seconds, you can say. But in this video, you're gonna learn the basics on how to create tools, so you can understand the fundamentals and what's my thought process in this specifically. So in order to map everything correctly, you have to grab the string at the beginning. The string is going to be the string or the text that has to be inside this section of the name, and then you have to add the value. Usually in this case, you can hard code your var token that you get provided from GoHighLevel, or you can also like send that specific bearer token in a cool way. And the cool way is by doing webhook calls. So you will have a webhook inside GoHighLevel, and that webhook is gonna send custom data that is inside your sub account. And that sub account will usually, what we do in our developments with AI is that we store all of the keys and important information in custom values. And in that custom values, we usually store the var token that is needed for all of our workflows that N8N needs. And I'm going to show you an example. You're going to see an example in this video, but I'm going to cover that specifically, like webhook calling, on a separate video so you can learn this better. In this case, we're just going to hard code the entire var token. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this example var token, and I'm going to go straight into the HTTP request. I'm going to paste this here inside the value, and I'm going to, okay, so we finished the authorization requirement. Now we have another requirement, and the other requirement is version. All right, so like I was saying, you have to follow the exact requirements. So we now have to add the version as a string that is required here. So we're just gonna go back and do the same process that we did for the authorization. We're just gonna map everything correctly. And now that we have this, I'm gonna go more into the deep explanation of what do we do with variables and how do we makes our life easier by having variables, right? And then can you explain why variables are important in workflows?
Variables are important, so that way we don't have to continuously hard code things into our fields on an N8N. So right now we're looking at fields. Specifically, we're looking at headers, right? So if we didn't use variables and we always hard coded, let's just say, for instance, right there on the bearer token, right? If we always hard coded that in, it would be hard. It would be more challenging to be uniform across our entire automation because we'd be more prone to making mistakes. If we ever updated our bearer token at any point in time, we'd have to go and update every node where we're referring to the bearer token where it's hard coded in every single time. Whereas if we're passing a variable, in this case, whatever the value of the variable is, whenever it gets updated, it's just automatically going to carry that value wherever we're referring to that variable in any part of our workflow. So using variables can save you a lot of hours in the future and can set you up for a lot less errors. And so it's really important to understand how to structure your variables, using the code in it. And it makes it super easy for us though. So
yeah.
Yes, sir.
And yeah, especially for like optimize and just by doing templates, for example, in this case, using variables, it can be really easy just to have like download this workflow, for example, and all of this workflow will have variables inside like important stuff. For example, the authorization token, the calendar IDs, and all that stuff. So whenever you're passing this workflow to another person, that person will have values inside those variables that will be different, right? and that can smooth the process, and that will make the everything more efficient than just hard coding stuff. So what I'm gonna show you guys is that
Can I add a quick explanation to the?
yes, you can, of course.
Please.
Yeah. It's like a great placeholder for any information that you want to move from one step to the next step. For example, you might have contact, like a contact that's moving through your automations, one of your leads, and you might want to use their name in multiple steps, right? Maybe you want to update the contact's name. Maybe you want to give the contact's name to an AI agent so it has that reference. Maybe you're using the name to also use a search like GoHighLevel for a contact with that name, right? So you can, the variables allow you to dynamically say, okay, when contact one goes through our automation, I'm using Enrique here to update the contact, and Enrique in the AI agent node, and Enrique in the search GoHighLevel. Probably in a different order than that, but you get it. And then the next contact, oh, that's Andon. So we have Andon's name shows up in the search GoHighLevel. Andon's name shows up in the update contact. Andon's name shows up in the AI agent node. Third contact, Trajan, right? So it's going to be a placeholder for whatever information you want to pass through your system. And you can use this set credentials to put your placeholders all in there, get all the values that those placeholders are going to be mapping for. So like the name, we can put in the credentials, and now the name placeholder will always be able to be used in the rest of the
Yes.
dynamic.
Cool. Thank you, Trajan. Thank you, and then
Yeah.
also. So yeah, like you get the point of why it is important to be using your variables inside your workflows instead of hard coding stuff. In this case, I'm just gonna connect the tool that I created. Oops. I'm gonna do something real quick. So I'm gonna put this here. I'm gonna connect this, and as you can see now, I can just grab and drop the variable needed. In this case, this API bearer token that I'm not gonna show it to you guys, but you're gonna see that I can just drag and drop inside the value needed. But in this case, with mapping with this API documentation from GoHighLevel, whenever you're adding a bearer token, you have to add the word bearer at the end and then the token value variable. Sorry. Bearer. Cool. You have to follow this. And that's how you create the first section of the HTTP request body, you can say. And the first section is the headers. Then we're going to go to the body. In this case, we have to take a look at the requirements for the body for this specific tool, create appointments. And you see here that we need some, like 4 requirements specifically. We need the calendar ID. Obviously, this is the calendar that you're using to be able to schedule an appointment from. Then the location ID, that's going to be the location ID of your GoHighLevel account. The contact ID, who's going to be the contact that is going to be added to that calendar and is going to have the name attached to that appointment created, and also the start time, obviously, to know the date and time of that appointment. All right, so we're going to go back into our HTTP request, and we're going to start mapping this out. So name, calendar ID. Another one is going to be location ID. Another one is going to be contact ID. Another one required, start time. All right. Now that we have all of our body requirements, JSON body requirements, we have to start adding the values inside those body parameters requirements. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go straight into our GoHighLevel, and I'm gonna show how you can get your calendar ID, your location ID, and the start time and contact ID. You're gonna get that whenever you're using your AI agent inside GoHighLevel, inside N8N. So the start date time is gonna be I think, yeah, the start date time is gonna be done by the AI agent, depending on the conversation. So yeah, depending on the conversation. And the contact ID, obviously, if you're having a conversation, if your AI agent is having a conversation with someone, the someone is gonna be a contact that is gonna be in your GoHighLevel account. And in that case, you can pull as a variable that contact ID and paste that inside your tool. Cool. So I'm gonna go straight into GoHighLevel, and I'm gonna show you guys how you can get the calendar ID and the location ID. All right, you guys. So in order to get your calendar ID, you just go straight into calendars inside your GoHighLevel account. Copy the calendar that you're gonna use. In this case, sales calendar. Then I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna start mapping everything out. So calendar ID, that's the name needed for that parameter. Then I'm gonna add the value here. For location ID, I'm gonna give you guys a quick tip. So whenever you wanna get your location ID from your sub account in GoHighLevel, you just copy this particular stuff here, copy and paste, copy, and then go back and paste that inside your location ID parameter. Now, this is gonna get interesting. In this case, like I show you, we have everything mapped and everything well organized with our variables. So as you can see here, we have the contact ID, and this contact ID is gonna be the contact ID variable that I'm gonna grab and dropped here. I'm gonna make sure I map this correctly. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna make sure I pull that exact contact ID from this specific node. You can see what I did. I just parentheses, then single quotes, the name of the node that you're pulling that information from, then you close dot item, and then dot JSON and a string. Cool. Now we have to get our start time. In this case, I don't know why I just created a normal HTTP request. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do this as fast as possible using an example with curl and creating that inside a tool of our agents. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go back here. I'm gonna copy the curl needed. I'm gonna go back to the N8N workflow, and I forgot that you cannot do that with HTTP requests inside for the AI agents tools. So I'm gonna do the same thing again that I did. I'm gonna be fast. Boom. It's gonna be an expression fixed. Here's gonna be the value. then this is gonna be version. Cool. Body. Another ID. Location ID. Contact ID. And start time. And I'm gonna make sure I select using field below. You can also specify the type of body that you want. It can be fields or it can be just JSON. I usually go with JSON, but it is easier to understand if you're using fields also. Cool. So I'm gonna connect. So we have all the requirements needed in order to make this tool work. But in this case, because this is a HTTP request, this is a tool from an AI agent, we have to add a description for this tool. I forgot to also align the method. So this is post, and the URL is this one here. So as the description, what do you think a good description for this specific tool will be? It is going to be the schedule appointment tool.
Honestly, like there's two ways to go about it. We could just describe to it like in a plain statement, like, hey, use this tool whenever you see the need to schedule an appointment for the user, or we could just give the current prompt of the AI agent to Claude. Tell Claude, hey, we're trying to build this tool. It does this, and help me build the description for the tool that the agent's going to be referring to. If you don't have much prompting skills, you can ask AI to help you make the description for the tool. Other than that, yeah, I think just kind of describing what the tool is used for should be fine.
You're right. You're right. Okay, cool. So as the description, we're gonna use Claude for the description. We're gonna take a look at the prompt because it's really important to take a look at the prompt and add to the prompt that the agent has to be using this tool. And if it has something already in the prompt of using that tool, you have to map the exact name that is inside the prompt, the exact name of the tool that is inside the prompt, or it can be either way, right? Because I'm saying it in the case that you don't have the tool and the description and the prompt, and in the prompt there's a description for using that tool. In this case, we don't have a description for using the schedule appointment tool. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a description, in this case, for the schedule appointment tool. Cool. One quick tool tip that I want to share with you guys is that whenever you're integrating a schedule appointment tool inside an AI agent, you have to specify that the agent the agent needs to be using the get availability tool first in order to get the available slots, and then you can proceed to schedule the appointment. And also, if you want to add more processes, like an appointment setter will do, is like grabbing their name, grabbing their email, right? And we're gonna do this. We're gonna add this schedule appointment description here with our help of Claude. If you never use Claude is like my best friend, to be honest. Claude is absolutely incredible, and it can make your life easier. It can triple X your work and make you more efficient. And I'm going to show you guys how you can use Claude to prompt your, how can you use Claude for pretty much everything, because this can apply to a lot of stuff when you're creating agents, right? All right. So first step with Claude. So I'm going to provide you context of what I'm doing. In this case, I'm creating a tool inside our AI agent. And this tool is a tool that is made for scheduling appointments. The name of the tool is schedule underscore appointments. And the purpose for this tool is to schedule appointments, but before scheduling appointments, you have to be using your tool get underscore availability. So we can get the free slots. And then the second process will be asking for their email and name in order to trigger this specific tool. The time format of this tool has to be in ISO format, ISO A601, if I'm not wrong, Endon, or is Unix?
This is for scheduling appointments. I think you're right.
Okay. Can you just scream at Trajan and ask him?
Yeah, I gotta see if he's inside. Oh, there he is.
Trajan, I have a quick question for you.
What's happening?
Okay. So, how do you learn what type of what the structure needed of the date and time to make the schedule appointment work successfully, aligning with the API documentation from GoHighLevel?
Is it inside of the API document?
API documentation. Okay. So is this specified in this particular?
Yeah, it should be.
Yeah, it should be here, right? So it gives you an example, and this example is in this format specifically. And if you go to Claude and just ask Claude what type of format this is, Claude will give you an answer. Yeah, I think so. So I'm just gonna copy this. I'm gonna paste this here, and I'm gonna go back here. I'm gonna copy this. We just want to know what format this is, because we don't have any idea of the name. Hey Claude, can you provide me the name of this type of format that is needed to create my tool inside GoHighLevel? Looks like the ISO A601 format. And that's how you know. Cool. Good to know. Thank you. Appreciate your help.
Calling up here anytime.
Cool. All right, we're learning stuff.
Learning.
And yeah, that's okay. We need to be using the ISO 8601 format. That's the format that is required to be able to get the start time. So for the description, we're right, is going to be ISO format. So I'm going to specify to Claude. Yes, Claude, the format that we're using, the format that we're using in order to make this tool work is the ISO A601 format. So your job with all of this information will be to make a description, well-structured description for this tool that is going to be connected to our AI agent. Cool. I don't know why it's making a JSON body. No, Claude. I'm asking you for a description for my tool. A well-prompted description that is going to cover all the requirements that I share with you. Schedule new appointments by booking available time slots. This tool requires first using get availability. Schedule an appointment. Schedule new appointments by booking available time slots. Interesting description. Why is it showing retry?
I think it's like if you could just tell Claude to retry its output.
Retry with no changes. Okay. Schedule appointments for users based on I will like the description more like use this schedule appointment tool in order to schedule appointments for users based on the start time they ask for. But first, you need to be using the first availability, get availability tool to identify the open slots. And then you have to go through a process of asking the user their full name and address in order to make the appointment. And then follow the instructions that I gave you. Let's see what happens. Okay, add more and make it more. Add more detail. That's all I need. Okay. So this is what we got. Use this schedule appointment tool in order to schedule appointments for users based on the start time they request. Before using this tool, you must first use the get availability tool to identify all available open slots to match their user preference. Once you have the available slots, present these options to the user and ask them to select their preferred time slot. Then you must collect the user's full name. Okay. This works. Now you copy this description that Claude provide me. And then I'm just gonna go back here. I'm gonna add some spaces to have more. Okay, use this schedule appointment tool in order to schedule appointments for users based on the start time they requested. Before using this tool, you must first use the get availability tool to identify all the available open slots that match the user preference. Once you have the available slots, present these options to the user and ask them to select their preferred time slot. Then you must collect the user's full name, which are required. Okay, cool. Now we can give this a try. But first, all right, in order to create the get availability tool, what we're gonna do is do the same process, HTTP request. We're gonna go straight into the API requirements to make that tool. For that tool specifically, you're gonna take a look at the get free slots. As you can see, the method is get. So I'm going to start mapping that out. Get, and then we're going to add all of the requirements. But in this case, this type of tool is different. What is the difference between this tool and the other tools that we're going to create? And then
The difference between this tool and the other tool. What other tool are you talking about? The
we're going to do the get availability tool. And my
Mhm.
idea is to connect this to the webhook that we have here that has the entire get availability process.
Yeah. So the cool thing about this tool, and this is where we hit some weird limitations with N8N's agent node. We basically have a little workaround built in, but high level, instead of making an API call to GoHighLevel from the tool, we are instead going to make a call to a webhook that is within our workflow. So we're going to put the webhook URL actually right here where it says URL. And that's what makes this one a little bit different than the rest of the tools we are connecting to the agent. And that is a good workaround for the limitations that we can hit with the tools nodes that are based off of the N8N AI agent node. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Like he said, there's some limitations with the N8N agent that we want to fix. And the best way to fix that is to just do like a normal automation without connecting that to a brain that is not 100% not 100% viable.
Yeah.
Is that the word?
Yeah, I think so. Like this is like a good idea to like add complex functionality to whatever tool you're making, because you can do this really anytime you want. Call to a webhook that's within the workflow to do a bunch of other things as its own like automation within the automation. So it'll make a lot more sense once you see what he's about to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Enrique said, this is what was the word you just used a second ago? That was a good word for it. Viable. This
Viable.
makes it viable. Yeah.
Yeah, because automations in this case, they don't have like any error unless the information that is coming through this webhook is wrong. This will work 100%, but this will work 75, 80%. Not and we don't like that percentage. We want everything to be 99 to 100%
Yeah.
viable.
Yeah, exactly. Because you want it to work every single time. There's a problem whenever the AI agent node is responsible for basically making the API call to GoHighLevel. For whatever reason, it's not able to format, I think, times correctly. Something weird happens. It's trying to make an API call, but the times don't get in the API request correctly. So then it returns no free slots, which basically shows that you have no availability on your calendar, which is not what we want to do. So instead, we'll call to the webhook. The webhook will trigger the automation that will actually form the HTTP request or the API call in this case, the exact way it needs to be every single time. It'll properly get the slots and it'll properly return the slots back to our agent so the agent can continue with the conversation with the free slots that are available.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I'm going to do this as fast as possible in this case because we're not using this HTTP request. We just want to send the entire body. So what we're going to do is we're going to map all the requirements needed in order to make the tool that we created here work. I'm going to do a different video showing how to create this get availability tool specifically. But I'm just going to show you guys what you can do, the same process. Mapping the requirements needed inside the HTTP request node. Okay, last thing to add, map the name correctly. Get availability is going to be get at the beginning. Did I spell this right? Availability. Yes.
Yes, you did.
Let's go.
Better than me.
And as you can see here, everything is mapped correctly. It's not mapped correctly, but we're sending every single thing. Every single thing required in order to make this work specifically. Last part, we just need to copy the production URL that we have here. Now that we have the production URL, we're just gonna paste this specifically, this production URL. Am I grabbing the right one? Yes. We're gonna paste the production URL here, and whenever this AI agent triggers this specific tool, this tool is gonna send all this required body, all this body, to make the gate availability process. And at the end, this is gonna send everything to our. This is gonna send information to our AI agent. And yeah, as you can see here, I finished putting the description. I share the entire process of how to create a description for this tools specifically. You have to analyze all the requirements needed. And by all the requirements, I mean the required parameters, and also how the examples are here. For example, this number here, this end date, is in Unix format. So you have to create a tool and add as a description that it needs to be. Oh, okay. Sorry. This is sending the information to ISO A601 for the scheduling appointment. But inside the AI agent, in the prompt, we have specified to be using Unix format. Unix, as you can see here. Convert that date to Unix timestamps in milliseconds. And if we go down, get availability, you can see the description here. And yeah, that's how I did it. And that's how you learn, by just reading the docs, reading the API documentation, playing around with Claude, testing the tool, and that's the whole purpose of this, right? And yeah, this is how you can create tools using GoHighLevel and N8N, and how you can implement this inside your AI text agents. Así que sin más añadir, espero que te haya gustado este video. Si te gustaría realizar estos tipos de desarrollos con personas increíbles, divertirte, disfrutar el proceso, si eres un desarrollador o si eres un dueño de negocios que llegaste a este punto y realmente ves el valor de aprender estas habilidades y también poder implementar esto dentro de tu negocio y aprovechar a futuro lo que te viene con la inteligencia artificial, quieres crecer en general, por favor, agenda una llamada conmigo. Está el link aquí abajo en la descripción. Hablaremos, tendremos una conversación y realmente aprenderé qué es lo que ocupas y cómo te podemos ayudar y cómo te podemos aportar en este proceso. Así que sin más añadir, nos vemos para el siguiente video. See you guys.
Bye.
Bye bye.